Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Damila David. Good day. Oh. Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Damila David, and it's such an honor, a privilege to be here with you all today. This is an initiative of CMRC, a free success project for the year 2026, and we'll be taking you through the basic things that you need to know in excelling for your JAMB examination. So I wish you success, and I hope that you listen attentively. Thank you so much. So today, we'll be looking at English language. But for JAMB, it is called use of English. Yes, how we basically use English in our everyday life. And that is exactly what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to go through every of the concepts that is usually touched in JAMB every year. You'd agree with me that these things are things that you're quite familiar with because you've been introduced to it since secondary school, in fact primary school. These are the knowledge that you need to bring back to be able to excel academically in this examination. So for use of English, we have a number of topics that is going to be touched by JAMB, which you need to prepare for adequately. So number one, in JAMB usually divide use of English to three main sections. So the very first section, and summary. Then you move on to lexis and structure. So lexis and structure is the second part, while the oral part is the third part. So these are the basically three parts that JAMB is going to test you in. Now for the comprehension and summary, you have a number of questions under it, and this is where you look into essays, exposition, narration, description, argumentative and persuasion, and basically understanding of passage. What JAMB wants to test is how you have a good understanding of what is being asked. So for your comprehension, you're going to have a comprehension passage, and this comprehension passage is going to have a number of questions after the passage or above. Then you have questions that you're going to answer immediately after reading. I'd advise you to first look through your questions before you go to read the passage. Why I'm giving this clue is for you to be able to maximize your time, because timing is very, very, very important in JAMB, because once you start, your time is going and you really cannot afford to be slow and all of that. So read your questions first, then you go back to read the passage. That way you already familiarize yourself with what to expect, the clues to look into when you're reading the passage. And once you're reading this passage, you have to read with understanding. Don't read absent-mindedly. Read with understanding in order for you to be able to, get the exact answer that you're supposed to pick. And for the summary, you're going to have a summary part also that they want to test your ability to be able to summarize what's going on. Okay, you have a passage now. After reading this passage, what do you understand? Or they give you a passage on food and water security, and in the passage, they've told you a number of things. in summary is just like the main idea. What exactly the whole passage that you've seen is talking about. So it's really that simple. It's really that simple. Then you're also going to have a closed passage. Now in this closed passage, this is where you have registers. And let me tell you this, you really need to be very conversant with happenings around you. Registers can be on any aspects. You can say, oh, it's an English exam. They can give you a register on medicine, for example. So if you see a register on medicine, so that means that you have to be already familiar with words like injection, syringe, drugs, a lot of things. So this is why even during the preparation for your UTME, you need to be able to read anything. When it comes to English language, read anything that your hands come upon. Your past questions are there for you to, really help you go through all the registers that they've been using over the years. That would indeed help you to, do better. So when it comes to closed passage, we're talking about registers, and they give you words and underline, okay, this, dash. So you to just input the words that is most appropriate, correct for that particular line that is given unto you. Also, there are going to be questions on figures of speech. So for figures of speech, you see an idiomatic expression, for example, and you're asked to, okay, what is the meaning of this? Let me use a common example, like the man kicked the bucket. So they give you that kind of example in your JAMB, and you're to tell what the meaning of that expression is. So you know that it is simply that the man died. Very, very simple. So you need to go through books that helps you to have lots of idiomatic expressions for you to be able to familiarize yourself with these words, and by the grace of God, you do excellently well. Yeah, so every single year, JAMB has a culture when it comes to use of English, and it is giving you a recommended text that you're to read and prepare for. So this year, you have the Lekki Headmaster. This is the text that you're supposed to read. Please, please, and please, don't go online looking for, summary. Summary is good, but it's not the best thing you can do if you want an excellent result. So you get your copy of the Lekki Headmaster, which will be provided to you once you register. Read it from the beginning to the end. Preferably when you're reading it, have a pen or a pencil that you underline very important words. You look at the main characters. You look at the setting. You look at the story that this novel is passing across. What is the main idea in this book? Who are the characters? Where was it set? So things like this are also very important. And I mean, there was a year that JAMB was asking that, who was the book dedicated to? So that means when you're reading your recommended text for JAMB, you're reading from the beginning, the very beginning, till the end. Yes. Yeah, so it means you want to read the acknowledgements, you want to read the dedication, you want to read everything. You want to be sure that you do justice to that book, which is, I mean, very interesting. When you're reading it, it's always interesting. It's always interesting. So just get a pencil while you're working on it, while you're reading it, underline, circle out important things. Once I'm done explaining, I'll go back to the Lekki Headmaster so that we can, talk briefly about it. Moving on to the lexis and structure. What are the things that you are to expect? What are the things that you JAMB wants to test in this? So you have synonyms, antonyms, and the likes. Now, when we talk about synonyms, we're looking at words that are similar in meaning. I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time. But why it is very important in this time, for this particular exam, is that you're looking for, JAMB gives you a word that you probably might have not heard before. So how do you want to scale through this? How do you want to ensure that you're picking the right words? You're actually going to have to look for the word that is most similar in meaning, because when we talk about similar in meaning, there is no exact word for that particular word that is given to you. So you look at words that are its most similar in meaning. And I would recommend that you use the elimination method, which is that, okay, for example, when you have 4 options for a particular word, and out of these 4 options, you see that number D is totally out of it. It can't be number D. So you eliminate it out of your answer. Let's say hey is totally not out of it. Probably is an antonym and you're looking for synonym. So you push it aside too. Then probably you're left with 2 words. So out of that 2 answer that is left, you just pick the one that is most similar in meaning to the word that you've been given. Same thing applies to antonyms. You're looking for words that are opposite in meaning to the word that you've been given. Use the same elimination method. However, I'd also, advise that you practice lots and lots of questions, because most times some of the questions or words that you have practiced is what is going to eventually come out. Yeah. Then JAMB would sometimes ask you for correct spelling of a word. Okay, they give you a word like recommended or recommendation. In the word recommendation, they can give you like a list of words, because they just want you to, they want to know if you know that there is double M in this word or there is a single M. But as a student, most times we can be like, oh, why are they testing me on this very simple word? Is this now? And when you're not calm enough, when you didn't pay attention, you might rush and pick the wrong word. So it is very important that you calm down. You are patient enough to be able to choose the right word. If you're opportune, look at your questions over and over again, because the answers here are going to be very similar. They're going to be very similar. So you want to be patient enough to choose the right word, even though these parts are very simple, yeah? And what they want to test is your ability to be calm and be able to choose the right words. So moving on to the part of speech, JAMB would also test you on part of speech. So we have the noun, your verb, your pronoun, adjective, adverb, and so on. So they want to see how you can use this word. And where they will test this is in your tenses. So the English language basically has 2 tenses, which is the present tense and the past tense. Yeah, you might want to say that, oh, there is future tense, there is this, but these are under the present tense and the past tense. So, for Concord is another very important part when you are answering your use of English language. You have the subject and verb agreement, which is Concord. Now, in this particular state, you want to look at how words agree, how we use words, how this sentence make sense, how you have a flow of your thought. And here is where you know your rule of concord very, very, very well. You have the rules in Concord. So I'd really, really advise you to know all the rules if possible. Know all the rules if possible. So Rule 1 of Concord says that the subjects, Rule 1 of Concord says that, your subject must agree with your verb. That is, a singular verb takes a singular subject. So what is a subject in English language? So the subject is basically person. Like, my name is Damilola, so Damilola did this, or Damilola is this. So Damilola, Taiwo, Kenny, the bag, table, that is subject. That's a singular subject. But when I move on to tables, cars, the three friends, Bola and Tayo, those are plural subjects. So for singular subject takes a singular verb. How does this work? When you mention one person, then the verb that comes with it has to be singular. Dami eats eggs. I won't say eat because it has to take a singular verb. And singular verb most times are always, the ones that carry, the ones that have the S behind them, eats. So it's contrary to the singular and plural opinion where you have, thieves. Those are the ones that are taking, those are the ones that are in plural. But when we come to singular verb and singular subject, it's your verb would be the one that carries the S. While for plural subject takes a plural verb. Plural subject takes a plural verb. So it is then you have Taiwo and Kenny eat every day. So eat in that sense is plural, right? So these are very, very important details that you need to pay very good attention to be able to excel. Pay attention to your tenses. The present tense, the past tense. So JAMB wants to see if you have a good command of your present and past. There are so many functions that the present tense perform. In fact, the present tense sometimes tell us future actions. It tells us, things that are universal, things that cannot change. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, something like that, for example. You won't say water boiled because, I boiled water yesterday. No, that's not what you say. When it comes to English, there are rules. English is a language of rules. I mean, rules, rules, rules. And once you know the rules, trust me, you do excellently well. So excuse me. So you wouldn't say that water boils at water boiled or this. So you say water boils because it is an action that, has happened, is still happening, and will still happen. It is a universal truth. So you can say, Obafemi Awolowo University is located in Ile-Ife. Is located, has been located, right? It's still here. So things that like this, that are universal truth, are supposed to be in present tense. They're supposed to be in present tense. So once you pay very good attention to things like this, know your rule of concord, pay very good attention to it, trust me, English, use of English is very simple. Then you're going to also have questions on idiomatic and figurative expressions. I think I've talked about that earlier, that you'll be given a particular idiom. Oh, what does it mean? So you can just go through it online. Oh, give me different words. Check through your past questions, different idiomatic expressions. Know the meaning. Know the meaning. Oh. They can give you even in a sentence, then ask you to bring out the meaning of it. The man puts, they can give you in a sentence and ask you, to bring out the meaning. Like I said earlier, the man or Mr. Tunde kicked the bucket. You already know that what they're trying to say in this kind of situation is, oh, Mr. Tunde died. He placed the cart before the horse. That means that the person did what he was supposed to do later. He didn't now, or something like that. So when you familiarize yourself with this kind of words, this kind of expressions, it helps you to, get really, really prepared and be positioned for excellence. Let's quickly move on to the oral forms. I think this part is another part where you can get all the marks once you're ready to do the work that it requires. For the oral form, you have the vowels and consonants. We have vowels and consonants in English language. So under your vowels, that's where you look into your monophthongs, diphthongs, and triphthongs. And what they want to test you in this case is if you know whether the word or the particular sound that you're giving, if you know the word that came out of it, probably is a diphthong, probably is a monophthong, and all of that. Let's quickly look at some few examples. Now, here we have these three sounds. And you want to, Jambu just give you like this. Then they give you like 4 words for you to choose the exact word that goes with this sound. So for example, they can give you the word, but they won't transcribe it for you like this. Jambu won't transcribe it. You're the one that will know, oh, what sound is here? So Jambu will just give you like this. Then you're to choose if this sound is this or this. So in this kind of case, once you're very familiar with sounds and the way it works, you'd be able to just get the correct answer. And same thing here also applies to monophthongs. That applies to monophthongs because these words are monophthongs because they are just single words. They are single. This is just the sound ah. This is the sound eh. This is the sound e. As simple as that. But when you go to transmission. Now, to continue, we'll go back to where we stopped our sounds. Now, I was saying that vowel sounds are, sounds that diphthongs glide. Two vowel sounds come together, glide, when you produce it. Like ah, the sound ah, and the sound e, right? Then when these sounds come together, you write them as I. Then you have a word like bike, right? Now you also have the sound A. It's also another vowel sound. You have ow. You have O. You also have the schwa sound and the oo, oh. You also have the ow. So, A, you have bake, right? You have baby. You have baby. So, and so on and so forth. So, want to be sure if you know these sounds, and this is exactly part of the things that you will see during your JAMB examination. Moving on, we also have consonants, right? We have consonants. Consonants are, your consonant sounds. Once it's not vowel, it's consonant, right? You could have a sound like, you could have a sound like g. You could have, sounds like this. And when you get to consonant sounds, what they want to actually test is, do you know what word is there? For example, this word cat, right? Car. Came. You'd, if you've practiced well, you'd see that this word, when you want to transcribe, you have here, they are consonants, and this is the sound they are, k, the k sound, because you really do not have your s, right, the letter C when you're transcribing. So what you have is k, the sound k, k, and that's where you have the cat, right? That's where you have the cat. For example, in came, you don't transcribe as, came. It will be came. I came yesterday. So that is how it is. So you need to pay very good attention to be able to know how the sounds work, how they work. And what kind of sound is going to, you're going to have when you have these particular letters. What kind of sound is he actually going to bring out? You have your rhymes. Also, you have, rhymes, which word rhyme with this, and you are just simply to bring out how this particular word and how it rhymes with the other. Then you have also your emphatic stress. There is emphatic stress in English. And what this basically wants to test is how these emphasis, when emphases are placed on words. You want to say something, but you want to emphasize a particular thing. So for example, I went to Lagos yesterday. It means that I didn't go to Lagos today. It means that I went when? Yesterday. So that particular yesterday might be the word that is emphasized. That is the particular word that more attention is given to. More attention is given to. So having, created time to study these words very well, you would really say that thinking of use of English is thinking of you not trying to pay attention to a part and leave a part. but you're studying every single thing in your syllabus. Going back to the Lekki Headmaster, which is the recommended test for 2026, texts like this are actually, you would have about 10 questions for his strict, disciplined, and he's a kind of a no-nonsense man. The story actually began by this man weeping on the assembly ground. It got to a point where he was, sad and very overwhelmed. And people were so surprised, like, oh, what's going on? We know this man to be a very strict. Imagine you go to a place and, okay, you are in a school, and of course, let's use secondary school setting. So your teacher, there is always one teacher in every school that everybody, runs. Is it that you run away from him, or when you see him coming, you just, you try to be in your best behavior because you know that this person doesn't take rubbish. So imagine you're not seeing this kind of man in a place where he's crying. You'll be so confused, like, oh, what's going on? This is the same way Mr. Abepo was seen in the beginning of the novel. He was seen on the assembly crying. And as the story unfolds, would say that this man was in that state because he was overwhelmed. He was sad. He was going through so much. He wanted to see how to help, reform the standard of that particular area. And that leads me to this particular text. So you can have a question like, you need to be well guided, and issues like this are actually what he faced. He's also, torn between leaving these children in Nigeria and running abroad. There was this Japa thing in the book that the book also portrayed, because Mr. Abepo's wife had already, traveled abroad. She's a nurse, got a job already, and constantly calling her husband, come. In fact, at a point, this man got a job. He got a job as a teacher abroad. But he was still very, very intentional about the kids. He just felt like, do I now leave? Who will take care of these children? Because apparently, in the midst of, people don't want him to be too strict and be too disciplined, there are still some students, there are still some people, that appreciated what he's doing, and they are so grateful for him. So because of these people, he still felt that, he's in between. Should he travel, or should he just, stay and take care of those children? So, and we can see from the book that there are themes of, discipline. Theme of discipline is around the book, and the character that is used to portray this is Mr. Abepo, because of his standard of teaching the students. There is also, we could also see reform in the educational system. He wanted to restructure everything. Because you're rich doesn't mean that you're not, you should not pay attention to discipline. You can even, these are things that you can actually relate with, because there are some students in school that they won't do the assignments the teacher gives them. And the parents will say, my child was busy, right? My child is ill. And some parents would even say, don't touch my child, don't beat them. Issues like this, where things that you can personally, as a student, relate with. Then bringing it out in this text is just to show you a more deeper view of this kind of issues in the educational system. Right? So, and like I said earlier, the Lekki Headmaster was set in Lagos, Lekki, Lagos, yes. It was set in Lekki, Lagos. And other things that would, other questions that will be given to you is actually going to be based, it's going to revolve around just everything that is in the book, nothing outside the book. So it's very easy for you to, clear all the marks from the Lekki Headmasters, clear all the marks from sounds, and on like that. So there are some questions that, they keep repeating, they bring it back again, and it will be a very great one once you master the questions, once you know, oh, this is where questions are coming from, and you pay very good attention to it. It will set you up for great excellence. So that'll be all for now on use of English. If you have any questions, I guess you can drop them on the comment section. Once again, my name is Damilola David, and it's such a privilege to also take this subject. This is also brought to you by CMRC. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends, families, and everybody that you know that this will be very beneficial to. Till I come to your screen again, thank you for listening.